Right, the Survivors Guild program is aiming at giving survivors of gender-based violence a platform to tell their stories. Launched in partnership with the Department of Sports, Arts and Recreation, Deputy Minister Nocawe Mafu says the department has made strides in dealing with gender-based violence. In addition to this, the department's grand announcement to rename the small town Brandford in the Free State after the late Winnie Mandela has left political parties hot under the collar. The department says this is one of the ways it was recognizing the struggle icon's contribution ahead of Women's Day. The name change has officially been approved by the Arts and Culture Minister Natim Tetwa, but the DA in the Free State has slammed this move. Joining us now to discuss these issues is the Deputy Minister of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Nocawe Mafu. A very good morning to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time. Let's start off with this initiative around tackling gender-based violence. Tell us more about what you're really intending to do in that space, especially as we know that COVID-19 has exacerbated and really placed a spotlight on the impact of gender-based violence in South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mpo, and good morning. Happy Women's Month to you and the viewers at home. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, first of all, we have looked at the issue of gender-based violence. As you would know that both government and the president of the country has dubbed this as the second pandemic that we are dealing with at this point in time. We have three strategies that we had launched. We looked one at what is called Khulekane Sekwanele, which is a conversation amongst men themselves across the generation to discuss the behavioral change, how they could actually assist in dealing with the issue of gender-based violence. And the second strategy is what is known as Silapa, we are here, or Silapa, we are healing, which is a program that makes both athletes and artists to have an access to some psychological help if they so need through a WhatsApp group, and they could just send a message through WhatsApp and they could have access to some psychological help if they've got mental issues. And then the third one is the one that we have dealt with, which is Makawafazi, which is a conversation of the victims themselves, and the Survivors Guild that you have alluded to is one conversation then that was done through this program, Makawafazi, where the victims, we look at them as survivors. That's why we called it Survivors Guild. These are the programs that we hope that we will be able to roll out throughout provinces, and it's something that we feel that as part of the government, which government had said all departments must actually deal with the issues of gender-based violence. And you would know that there's a strategic program that has been launched at national level, where then all the departments report on a monthly basis on what strides are they doing to deal with the issues of gender-based violence. So that's what we're doing at the department. The Survivors Guild, which was 2 days ago at the Constitutional Hill, was one opportunity that we had put some young women together, Matima, Cheryl Zondi, of course we had Mam Rose from Orange Farm, who had the opportunity to actually tell their stories. But our approach is that tell your story so that that story becomes a nation story. Because once you are able to open up and tell your story, it's no longer your story. It's all our story at the end of the day, because we will take the away from you. So that's the approach that we're dealing with at the department.
And Deputy Minister, why did you feel it's so important to get people like Cheryl Zondi to tell their stories, around gender-based violence? What messages are you hoping to convey by telling your story as a survivor of gender-based violence?
You see, a lot of time, victims of gender-based violence would sit in a corner and think that if they tell their story, it would shame them. people would judge them and say, why were you abused? And by having the brave ones that come in front and tell their story, we hope to motivate even those that still think that telling your story is a shameful effect. Because we really believe that the more we talk about this barbaric act, the more we open up, so that people actually don't see it as something that is unusual for women and young women that have been, abused, to come up and tell their story. And the good thing is that when you bring all women across the age group, so that even they can see that it's not about young women or older women. For instance, Ma'am Rose is 72 years old. She's been raped 3 times in her lifetime. If you then bring all these age group across to come and tell their stories, you then take the shame away and you actually instill bravery into the women to say, tell your story. It is not your shame. Actually, the shame should be the one that has abused you, not you who has been abused. You've got nothing to be shamed about because you have been abused.
Absolutely. That's an incredible way to really resonate a strong message, especially with the second pandemic that we're dealing with here in South Africa. Another, we're in Women's Month and honoring significant women who've made amazing strides within their lives. And the history pages of South Africa is the renaming of Brandfort to Winnie Mandela, which has been met with a lot of contestation. Some political parties like the DA and COPE coming forward to say this process is flawed. What do you have to say about that?
Look, the department, for instance, uses the renaming of places and names through what we call South African Geographical Names Council, which is a council that is working through an Act 118 of 1998. Now, the debate around renaming Brandfort is a debate that started as far back as 2018. And it started through the provincial geographical names of Free State, which then would interact with the municipalities, with the people. And then what then would happen is that once that process of consultation has been done by a provincial geographical name committee, for instance, then once they are satisfied that they have done all that is necessary, then they would interact with the family to actually get permission to use the name. What has happened in this case is that it became a long process to get the consent from the family to use the name. So only this year, when the committee set on the 27th of July, that then the province had said, we then got the consent at last. So now we can use the name. Otherwise, the process of consultation was done and finished with from 2018, up to 2019. What then has happened is that once then the National Geographical Names Council satisfied itself that all processes have agreed, they then submitted that report to the minister. So the minister then had gazetted the name on the 6th of August. And what then the gazette means is that once it's gazetted, the people are given 30 days to comment, to say we agree or we not agree. So that 30 days finished from 6th of August to the 6th of September, obviously, and then we will then agree. So we have agreed on the name, but precautionary, we're still waiting for those comments from the people. But from where we are sitting as the department, the process has been followed to the latter. In any case, I do not understand why people would want to object to Brandfort being called Winnie Mandela, Madikizela Mandela, because all of us we know the history of Brantford, and we also understand what role Mama Winnie had played in making sure that a place that was meant to be a place of her banishment, she turned it to a place of hope, because what she did when she got there, she put together soup kitchens. She made sure that the people of Brantford don't see that place as a punishment area. And she did all to make sure that people from that place see that place as hope, and they see her as somebody who brought hope to that place.
Absolutely.
So therefore, yes.
Absolutely.
So for me,
Deputy Minister, if you'll allow me to interrupt you there, just for the sake of time, you speak of one process. You speak about how the consultation process took place. But on the other end, what you're saying and what the people in Brantford are saying, the DA and COPE coming out very strongly to say that they are assisting the community to lodge an objection to this. The DA saying that the problem is not the name. The problem is a lack of public participation. COPE, on the other end, is saying that Brantford carries a very rich history as part of South Africa's painful past, and they're saying that Winnie Mandela was banished to Brantford in the Free State. It cannot be that Winnie Mandela is now banished to Winnie Mandela, losing the rich history that lies with it. Are you confident that this public participation was really something that you looked at? Because now a lot of issues are coming out of this. The DA is also saying that perhaps you should ask the people of Joe Slovo, who have gone without services for more than a decade, what they think about this renaming process. What do you say to that?
Look, South Africa is a democratic process. That's one thing that we had instilled in this country. Everybody has got a voice. You have to voice what you are unhappy with. But then at the end of the day, democracy must prevail. So we believe that the municipality there, because from what we had seen, we've got the notes that shows that municipality had a process, and we have seen that the community was also, consulted. But let's wait and see the 30 days when it expires. And if then there is anything that shows that there was a lack of consultation, we'll then go back to the drawing board. But from where we are sitting, we really believe that that process was followed to the letter.
Thank you so much for your time, Deputy Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Nocawe Mafu there, speaking to some fantastic initiatives when it comes to giving gender-based violence survivors a platform to speak and inspire others to also do the same in speaking, and also looking at some of the hot issues around the renaming of Brantford in the Free State, saying that perhaps we'll have to see the process through and wait for the expiry of the 30 days to see then what sort of response may still continue to come from that community, who are completely against being left out of a public participation. But the ANC, on the other hand, as you heard from the Deputy Minister, saying that she is confident that the processes were followed. We'll have to keep an eye on this one and see what happens.